Please note that this series contains stories of violence, assault, suicide, and suicide attempts that some people may find disturbing. Names and places have been changed for privacy. Listener discretion is advised.
So, grade 12, we graduate. I'm putting myself through school and I'm working at a store.
She meets the owner, Kendra.
Kendra was secretly dating a married man, and his name is Clayton. She was in her early 20s and Clayton was in his 30s, late 30s. They had met at church and he was sleeping with Kendra. Kendra was very influenced by Clayton, and later on, they were in a cult. I didn't realize that at the time, but she was very influenced by him, and I was very influenced by her. So she's like, you gotta get out on your own, you gotta see the world. I have a place, I have 2 bedrooms. You should see what it's like to be on your own. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can afford this. I totally couldn't, but yeah, I'm gonna do this. So the first week that I moved in with her, Clayton came over. He would come over and visit her all the time. They told me that they weren't sleeping together, and I was like, oh, they're just friends, and he's helping her see the Lord and whatever. One night, Clayton came in, and they sat down with me, and he said, what's with you? And I'm like, what? And he's like, what is with you? And I'm like, why? What are you talking about? And Kendra pulled up the pants on her legs, and you could tell there were fingerprint bruises all on her legs. She said, I was pulled off my bed a few times last night by my ankles. Clayton wasn't there last night. You have a demon with you. Okay, it was really weird, and I was like, oh my God, they are crazy. So it progressed like that. That was the most violent thing that happened to her. But in that apartment, there were quite a few times she would say stuff like, something shook me, or I was pushed in my stomach. She felt violently attacked a lot in there, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. I was probably there for 2 or 3 months, like not long at all. I moved out of there and into my grandma's, and nothing really happened in her place. I don't think ever, actually. I moved out for them, but I stayed connected to them because he was running a church group out of his business. He said, there's a group of us that get together and discuss the Bible if you're interested. And I'm a Bible kid, so I was like, sure, why not? I would go and sit in these groups, and that's where I met a really good friend of mine, Dean. So we would go and discuss things about the Bible, and it seemed like a normal church group. I lived with them another time, which we'll get to. They are nuts, just nuts.
But while you lived with them, nothing happened to you. It was only happening to Kendra?
Nothing physically ever happened to me. Always whispering, Sarah, and always men's voices. Kendra was the first one to tell me, I walked by your room last night. Did you have somebody over? Okay, I was single for 4 years after high school. I actually had a new group of friends. They actually thought I was a lesbian. I was like, no, I've just been having trouble with men. I was just single, just hanging out. I just didn't know how to flirt or anything. They always said they heard men's voices coming from my bedroom, and later on, other roommates would say it too. Kendra complained about being attacked quite a bit, and then the voices, the whispers and stuff. Well, Clayton believed I had a demon with me, so she believed I had a demon with me.
Was that the first time you thought?
At that time, I totally thought they were full of shit. I was like, you are crazy, which is why I got out so fast. I moved in with my grandma. Nothing happened there. And from my grandma's place, that's where it gets confusing. I met Danny in post-secondary, and I lived with her after graduation. She rented a house on Broadway, and it had a flat roof. It's gone now, but there were only 2 flat-roofed houses on Broadway. So I moved in there, and this is where I started believing, she immediately heard voices. Danny loved her weed, and those were the kind of friends she had. But I liked her, and she was cool, and she was definitely my reality check into what the world was like, because I had no idea people drank and did drugs. I was never exposed to it in high school. Like never, not anything. Booze, yeah, but I never drank beer because I hated the taste. So I moved in with her, and immediately it was the cupboards. They would open and close. Or you'd come in and they'd all be open, and we would hear voices. We were sitting in the living room one time, and we both thought we heard my name being called in the dining room or hallway. It was a very small house. It was a 900 square foot starter house, and we only had the top level. A girl lived in the bottom level. So we all lived there for a couple years, and we would hear weird and creepy sounds and stuff. And she said that she heard a man's voice coming from my room. Things like that would happen. She said, "I think you have a ghost following you." This was the first time I went, "She's saying the same things to me too?" I don't think I ever mentioned it. Like, why would I say that to someone?
While some of Sarah's childhood memories are admittedly fuzzy, what happened next is well documented and obviously received plenty of media attention.
I woke up one morning and I looked out my window and I knew they were police investigators. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I go outside and the police are all around my house, but none of them came up and talked to me. So I gotta get to work. I woke up Danny. "Danny, there's police outside. Go find out what's going on, because I gotta go to work." She had the day off. I went to work and she called me, "You need to come home." "What? What happened?" "The girl next door, I think she might be dead." Oh my God. So I come home, and what happened was a 20-something-year-old guy, he came through the alley. He broke into our shed. He found a screwdriver and used that to start to jimmy our basement window. That's where the girl in the basement was, which he could have popped that off, no problem. She had no locks, right? Then these girls came home drunk, our next door neighbors. There were 2 girls living in the basement suite next door. They were pretty quiet girls. We didn't see them much. They got out of the cab and they were all drinking or whatever, and he was distracted by them, so he didn't finish breaking into our house. He went next door, did the same thing to the bottom window in their house. They had gone in and gone downstairs. He had popped it open and gained access into the basement, which was the living room area. One of the girls had passed out on the couch, and he stabbed her 37 times. He stabbed her 37 times. The other girl heard her roommate screaming, and she ran upstairs and got the owners, and they came down, and by that point, he's crawling out the window. He forgot his backpack, he stumbled. I mean, he was an easy one to find because he was high when he did it, or drunk. And of course, the ambulance came, and they started going through everything. By the time I got home, they hadn't discovered that the screwdriver had come from our shed yet, so that's why they weren't interested in talking to us yet. So then everyone moved. We all got out of there. The girl downstairs, she got out. Of course, the 2 girls next door got out. The people upstairs sold the house. They were done.
Source: Globe and Mail. A man convicted of stabbing and slashing a university psychology student 56 times in her basement suite saw the court dismiss his application for relief to appeal. Dominic McCulloch of Sylvian Lake, Atlanta, was convicted of second-degree murder in the March 2000 death of Jamie Wheeler. The body of the 21-year-old University of Saskatchewan student was discovered by her roommate March 12, 2000. After Mr. McCulloch returned from a party. Many people had been through the university student's suite, but Mr. McCulloch's DNA showed up on door handles, a water pipe stem, and on Mrs. Wheeler's jacket.
Years later, my parents had gone on a Halloween haunted tour of Saskatoon, and the Paranormal Explorer guide said one of the most terrifying experiences he ever had was in a house on Broadway. He took his equipment in there and things were slamming and it was really terrifying, and my dad said, "What kind of house was it?" And the guide said, "A flat with a white roof." And my mom's like, "That was my daughter's house."